Okay, I don't know how to go about this without sounding crazy. But hear me out, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're talking about the Antichrist with all this chaos and madness going about in the streets of America this week. Alright, so in talking about the Antichrist, we're going to talk about his rise to power. I'm going to be talking about the political figure of the Antichrist as well as his regime. Not so much his origin, his history, background, any particular things. This is going to be more of an overview. As such, I'm not going to be saying too many claims that I'm going to be able to readily substantiate, but hopefully it's a nice little introduction. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty and proving everything a bit later on as I talk about him throughout this series. But please enjoy this introduction. Okay, first off, he's going to be the ultimate Machiavellian. The Antichrist is going to come under a great many pretenses. Noble pretenses, all of which are going to be lies. Everything he does is an imitation, in mockery to the light, and under the banner of all these good and wonderful things, the prevailing light. All of those things are going to belie a darker, insidious agenda. One that has been in the making for quite a while now. I'll put it at that. Okay. First thing we're going to talk about, New Age. Why is it relevant? Because not only does it give some insight into the virtues that will prime the world for its coming, but there's an interesting little prophecy that some of its practitioners have. Okay, first off, the New Age. I can't really say so much it's a religion of any sort. There's no standardization, no structure of any sort. I would say it's something closer to movement, lifestyle, but in any sense, this set of beliefs is extremely diverse, drawing from religions and ideas all over the world throughout the course of time. Chiefly among them, much Eastern ideology, as well as some cult thrown in there. Now, the wonderful thing about this, or rather insidious thing about this, is that it represents the destruction of objective reality, a disconnect, if you would, as well as an overthrow from a lot of the traditional values that kept Western society intact. Western society is going to be the springboard for the Antichrist to establish his world regime. Now, the ultimate thing that the New Age brings to the table in understanding this is the Aquarian conspiracy, if you would. The idea that during the age of Aquarius, which according to most people who believe in this idea would indicate that we're in, during this age of global communication, the uniting of the word, if you would, the blurring of any different, lines between different identitarian groups. It was during this era that oftentimes a Christ would emerge, second coming of Christ, an archetype of him at least, would come to unite the world and bring it into a time of great economic success, peace, communication, unity, all that good. Now, any good discerning Christian would know that the Antichrist would, yes, unite the world, but in doing so, he would seek to utterly destroy it. What's left of the world's religions will become absorbed into almost his cult. At first, he'll be on board. He'll have support from the Jews, any remnant Christians, of course, anyone who's interested in a lot of Eastern ideology, and of course those that are part of the New Age. He's going to appeal to all those types of people. Absolutely. He's going to be an individual of great charisma, of excellent standing, and will be universally loved. No doubt about that. As he comes as a deceiver. Every good thing that he promises in the name of the light, in the name of God, well, particularly blasphemies, atrocities, but they're all so well veiled, and if anything, most of what he says will sound right. It will sound good. It will sound righteous. As it should be, but it will be misused. It will be twisted ever so slightly, and those are the worst perversions. Those are done subtly, with an agenda in mind, ladies and gentlemen. And all this will ensue when the time is right. There's a few different possibilities as to what could be the perfect time for the Antichrist return. However, all we have to do is know of the second coming of Christ, when he will come to rapture all the Christians. A precursor to all this is the birth pain, so to speak. Disasters, pain, struggles, hardships of the world that will become increasingly more and more common and severe as the time approaches. Now, the corona cooties, alright, and a lot of the madness going on right now. It's nice and all, but it's not bad enough. After each and every bout of all this, there's going to be a reprieve, if you would. Time for society to gather and collect itself and, maybe learn from its mistakes. Not that it ever does, but anyways. It is possibly after maybe some of the worst of yet to come that I believe the Antichrist will arrive. After the rapture of Christians. He will come at a time when people are ready to believe anything. Do whatever they can to escape what tragedy befalls them. That is when they'll be most vulnerable and most ripe for his control. I mean, after all, we have to remember that post-WW1 Germany was susceptible to a particularly angry man that established a national socialist empire, to be vague about it, so the YouTube algorithm doesn't give me a hard time. Anyways, a time when people will be more than ready to believe anything to escape their most dire straits comes in the Antichrist. Now, behind his charisma and all of his social justice, I believe he'll make heavy use of, and all of his just overall likability, being an icon for good, is going to have his own supernatural powers, blessings from Satan, the dragon, and he will have the assistance of a prophet that will handle the regulation and expansion of this cult. Now, these things, they emulate the Trinity, which is just another sign that, because there are three aspects, Father, Son, and, well, the prophet being the Holy Spirit, at least an imitation of that. Now, in doing so, you have to understand that, yes, this Antichrist and his unholy alliance is going to be a mockery and perversion of all things the light does. And this is why he's going to convince so many people. Because all you have to do is just twist the truth a slight amount. And that's actually the worst sort of perversions you can have, going in with an agenda to alter the truth in the slightest, most subtle degrees possible. Also, pretty interestingly enough, triangle, sign of the Illuminati with the all-seeing eye. Not to say that he has necessarily Masonic connections, but it's just a nice little thing to think about. How he has a three-sided eye, or an eye held within a triangle. Has three aspects to it. Just food for thought. Alright, but first, what is he going to do to his opposition? Well, he's going to win as much of them over as possible. No doubt, most religions are going to almost be assimilated into his cult. If they don't, they're probably going to end up being destroyed. Labeled as radicals and then summarily destroyed. And eventually, this window of those who you'd mark as extreme and destroy, those who disagree to destroy, it's only going to get smaller and smaller until even those who, have criticisms, they eventually should be labeled for execution. And those that even consider otherwise, well, for sure they'll be destroyed. This will continue until even those who do not worship the Antichrist, they will surely perish. This is all from the Book of Revelation, detailed quite clearly too at that, handled by the prophet himself. And why is that? Because collective unity means the destruction of your own individuality. I'll get into that a little bit more later. But for now, do acknowledge that in this process of assimilating all different world religions, where he's going to dismantle all these institutions and leverage them. Most especially, I would think, the Catholic Church. Say that in of itself, the Catholic Church is a corrupt institution that's going to be left behind, but the remnant apostate church, specifically the Catholic Church, is the most institutionalized church, has a clear hierarchy, and has the best outreach to people. It's a very strong institution, and one that's very good at public relations. And as such, it's going to be a great platform from which the Antichrist can speak. Whether or not it's going to be, he's going to have any relation to the church, or he's just going to have a nice puppet set up, that's unclear, but for sure he's going to leverage that in order to spread his message of peace, which belies destruction. Another thing of significance, he's probably going to set up his regime, his world-spanning empire, and have its heart be Rome. There's a few reasons I want to get into this. The understanding of Rome as the center of the world's power, as well as the number of the beast. Now, I already mentioned with the Catholic Church that is seated in, it's seated in Rome. That's for one thing. So it only makes sense that he will not only resurrect the Roman Empire, because again, it is possibly the most advanced for its time empire in the world. Well, as a matter of fact, for some of these innovations, like indoor plumbing, we only caught up in the 1930s. Ladies and gentlemen, the secret of indoor plumbing wasn't recovered for, after the fall of the Roman Empire. $1,500 years. It's a rough estimation. I'm not a history scholar by any means, but it's let's say 400 AD the Roman Empire fell. Yeah, it's brutal. But continuing onwards, the Antichrist himself is going to take after an archetype of a notorious ruler of the Roman Empire. The number of the beast is 666. Now, when we translate that into the Hebrew alphabet, since they use their letters for numbers, or rather letters doubled as numbers, when we take 666 and we try to figure out which 10 letters comprise a name that adds up to 666, the name is Neron Caesar. Sounds familiar? Perhaps Nero Caesar would ring a bell. But hold it, no. Nero Caesar isn't coming back from the dead. Antichrist's name, I don't think, is going to be Nero Caesar. No, St. John did not have, I'm sure he very much disagreed with Nero Caesar. No doubt about that. His rampant persecution of Christians. But we're talking about the archetype of Nero Caesar. The consummate Antichrist, if you would, during his time as a ruler of the Roman Empire. History has a funny ability to replicate itself in different pieces of time. And this would be no different. Whoever shall rise to the throne of this new world order will be very much like Nero Caesar in his dauntless, shameless persecution of not only those brave enough to stand against him, but eventually those who disagree with him, and those who do not have a single-minded obsession over him. And while on the topic of these historical archetypes, I think we had a few sort of Nero archetypes ever since the man's death, such as, Angry Man during WW2, Muhammad the Prophet, Alexander the Great, to name a few among others, Genghis Khan. Hopefully it gets the idea running that there are trends. There are individuals to fall into certain archetypes, if you would. Alright, so the Antichrist Neo-Roman Super Caliphate Memester Empire. Well, continuing on the topic of that, ladies and gentlemen, he's going to take it and he's going to turn it against the world. And once again, once he has the world subjugated, it's going to turn it against itself. Now they keep putting himself in a higher position of power. Once there are no more boogeyman outside of his empire, he's going to make sure that he divides it against itself. Against old, against the strong. Whatever is necessary boogeyman, he's going to take the victims aside, if you would. And believe me when I say that he's going to play the identitarian politics game very well. So well, you would think he's a character out of The Prince. It'll be the ultimate Machiavellian, and not only that, but in keeping with such the Prince's tradition. Again, very good book. Go read it. He's going to take whatever remains of the old world order, especially anything Christian contribution, and he will overthrow it. He will overturn it and replace it. Remove memories of the old ways. Returning to the New Age and many of its monist ideas. People will be indifferent to all of this sort of change. They will believe that all of these things, they lead to one ultimate truth, and that the Antichrist will simply strip away that which isn't, that which contradicts the truth. He will go through many different vectors, many different contrary means, if you would, but the people will believe him. He is, after all, a hero of peace and justice, is he not? That's what they'll believe. And I fully believe this regime will be set up through the means of liberalism, well, of its very regressive progress. That will enable the Antichrist to rise to power. The people will willingly give themselves over to the regime. Don't want to be stripped of their freedoms and their rights. But even of their humanity, I believe that biometric technology is going to play a very big role. You will increasingly be known as a number, code if you would. And I believe that the sign of the beast, the mark of the beast, it's going to come in the form of chipping. As you will not be able to perform any form of transactions without this chip, without this identification. And historically, it's been slaves who were branded and tattooed, and those marked for death back in concentration camps. In the same way, there will be no distinction between living and dead. What kind of life can be lived if it's not lived free, ladies and gentlemen? You will be forced to hand over everything that makes you who you are. Freedom to believe. Freedom to go unmarked. Your body will no longer be your own, nor will your thoughts, nor your spirituality. Antichrist will embody a time of great persecution. The totalitarian regime will remind body and soul. And those who would be brave enough to stand against him, those who would be correct enough to stand against him, well, they'll be wiped. Everyone else is going to follow, if they don't so much as bend the knee. Ladies and gentlemen, the tribulation won't only be a time of judgment, a fantastic design and creativity, which is going to be a topic for another day. It's going to be a purging of everything that the world once knew, everything that kept it sane and stable. Not only the worst of humanity be unveiled, but some of the worst of what God has ever unleashed upon the world will be made manifest. It is during this day of judgment, ladies and gentlemen, that the hierarchy will be externalized. Topic for another day when I keep saying the externalization of the hierarchy. Some Blotvots can speak, which be pretty useful if you want to get to learn about how the Antichrist is going to operate, how he's going to usher in his New World Order. But bear in mind the importance of the New Age and of some hidden orders, if you would, I guess. The global elite certainly going to have a lot to play in this and backing the man, and or woman, possibly. And, well, make sure the affairs of your house are in order now, lest tomorrow you be left behind for the marriage of the bride of Christ. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been The Wicked Generation. Wishing you all well. Be vigilant and be ready. We're in a time where the tribulation is only going to get closer and closer. And again, there will be birth pains, resembling some of what is yet to come. Even now, we must be ready. Peace be upon you all. Thank you. And until the next time.